Hello, everyone, and welcome to California EO Civics Basics. My name is Stephanie Fitzpatrick, and I'll be talking about civic participation and IELCE requirements for WIOA agencies, and also best co-op practices for CAEP agencies. And this is an update for 2025-2026. So goals and objectives. So hopefully at the end of this session, you'll be able to identify the requirements of California WIOA Title II, AEFLA, EL Civics grants specific to civic participation and IELCE, and also identify best practices for CAEP agency use of the California COAAP system. So to start with a short self-assessment, how would you characterize your understanding of California's civic participation and IELCE, and also best practices for CAEP agency use of the California COAAP system? So on a piece of paper, very quickly, please rate yourself from 1 to 5, 1 being I don't know much, and 5 being I'm an expert. So hopefully after watching this, your number will go up if you're more towards 1. If you're more towards a 5, this should be a review, and but hopefully you can I can clarify some things for you. Okay, so a little about the funding. The Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education, that's EL Civics, is funded under the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, or AEFLA, and the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Title II. So that's WIOA Title II. The WIOA Title II defines integrated English literacy and civics education as education services which enable competency in English language, rights and responsibilities of citizenship and civic participation, and also advanced skills needed to function effectively as parents, workers, and citizens in the United States. So EL Civics focus areas, it's sort of under this EL Civics umbrella. EL Civics agencies can hold classes in 1 or more focus areas. So either citizenship preparation, which is 231, civic participation, which is also 231, and also IELCE, that's 243. So CAEP and the COAAP system. So the California legislature through AB 2098 recommends that CAEP agencies utilize the California COAAP system for instruction and assessment of students to demonstrate immigrant integration indicator outcomes. So that's an I3. I know it doesn't look like an I, like looks like a 1-3, but that is I3 for the 3 I's, the immigrant integration indicator. And so Tops Row Enterprise records I3 outcomes, and you can see the California Adult Education website at this link. All right, so first, California EL Civic Systems Overview, Civic Participation, IELCE, and CAEP. So EL Civics, the civic participation in IELCE, it gives the opportunity to build on competency-based education, to connect language and instruction to the real world, to utilize performance-based assessment to evaluate how learners use the language and measure possible learner success in the community, and also connect English learners to the workplace. So that would be the IELCE. The EL Civic system is based on a set of civic objectives, CO, general competencies that help students access their community. So there are 7 areas: consumer economics, community resources, health, employment, government and law, transition, and workforce training. So some sample civic objectives for consumer economics, CO2, that involves things like resolving a consumer complaint. Health, CO26, it's about identifying or accessing free or low-cost medical, dental, and other healthcare services or insurance. Government and law, CO45, identifies the features of the legal system, including individual rights. Transition, which is CO52, it talks about utilizing soft skills. And last but not least, the last example here, workplace training, CO70. So this one is all about early childhood education. So students taking classes in early childhood education, CO70 is a good match for classes like that. And there are 61 civic objectives, 1 through 55 and 70 to 76. So, and number 41 is deleted. So the reason we have a gap between 55 and 70 is so that you can easily identify the workforce related specific COAAPs, which is 70 to 76. So all 61 civic objectives can be used for 231 funding and CAEP agencies. And then 31 of those 61 have been designated for 243 funding. And these are related to workforce preparation and workforce training outcomes. So for the full list, you can click this link. So see 231 and 243 funded civic objectives list. And the civic objectives are part of integral part of the COAAPs. A COAAP, which is a civic objectives and additional assessment plan, is a plan for performance-based assessment. So examples of some of those assessments are complete a job application or demonstrate successful job interview techniques. So COAAPs, there are multiple COAAPs for each civic objective, and there are approximately 185 COAAPs. So to view the pre-approved COAAPs, you can click on this link. All right, so next, the Title II WIOA Title II requirements and best practices for CAEP agencies. So there are 7 steps, and we're going to go over each one of these. So step 1, develop and administer a school community student needs assessment. So successful programs continually assess the needs, interests, and language skills of their learners by conducting ongoing needs assessments. So the requirement is to develop and administer a school community student needs assessment. So you need to complete the needs assessment summary form. And you can get that by either clicking the link directly on that link, or you can go to the California Civic Participation IELCE webpage and get the form. You should read the School Community Student Needs Assessment requirement for WIOA Title II, AEFLA, EL Civics funded agencies. And again, you can get that from the link to the Civics, California Civic Participation and IELCE webpage. So the different types of needs assessment. So first there is the general needs assessment. You need to assess the needs of the student community as a whole and what EL Civics information do students need and want to learn. There's also the workforce training needs assessment. So which career pathways need employees in the community? Which career pathways do students want to follow? And also English language learners who wish to gain training and employment should be given a specifically designed needs assessment to determine placement in integrated EL Civics and workforce training courses. And lastly, there's an optional classroom needs assessment. So after the school community needs assessment has informed the selection of COAAPs, you can assess the needs of a specific class and then use the results to select the agency chosen COAAPs. So some agencies, they select more than they're going to be using. It's just that they give the teachers the choice to, from this selection list, assess your classroom needs and then choose which ones you would like to do. So that is an option. Okay, step 2 is to select civic objective and additional assessment plans. So the needs assessment results inform the selection of COAAPs. So after doing the needs assessment, you should know which ones your students are interested in. Agencies are required to select between 3 to 10 COAAPs. So if your agency is selecting fewer than 3 or more than 10, you must request permission from your CDE regional consultant. And usually just an email to them explaining why you need to select fewer than 3 or more than 10 with an explanation. We're going to be doing this class and this class, so we need an extra COAAP. Usually that goes through pretty smoothly. Agencies use each COAAP to develop a COAAP assessment. So the assessment is given to learners after 30 hours of instruction in content specifically related to that COAAP. All right, 1 or 2 agency staff members should be designated to select COAAPs for the agency. COAAPs should be selected by the agency, not the teacher. So as I mentioned before, some agencies give teachers the option to select from a set that the agency has already selected. So the agency selects, say, for example, 10 COAAPs, and then the teacher can do a classroom needs assessment and pick and choose from those 10 that the agency has selected to do with their specific class. And you can contact your CASAS program specialist to be made the designee, so you can choose select those COAAPs. To select COAAPs, you can go to the CASAS EL Civics Civic Participation in IELCE webpage. And just remember, this is a flexible system, so most people choose pre-approved COAAPs. Excuse me, but agencies do have the option to revise existing COAAPs or even to write new ones. So to learn more, please refer to the webinar, EL Civics Basics, Civic Participation, IELCE, and CAEP, 2024-25, starting at timestamp 5730. Okay, so some deadlines for the COAAPs. First one is October 31st for WIOA 2 agencies. At least one COAAP must be submitted, and so this is so that we all know that your login is working. So if you find that you go to select COAAPs and it's not working, please email your program specialist so we can get that straightened out. So that's October 31st of every program year. Next deadline is April 30th, and this is for all agencies. This is the last date to add, edit, or delete option 1 COAAPs. So even though you are required to select at least one COAAP by October 31st, you can make changes to your selections until April 30th. Last note here, if you're writing a revised or new COAAP, be sure to submit your proposal as early as possible, but no later than March 31st of the program year. All right, step 3, develop or borrow additional assessments. So remember that COAAP assessments are performance-based. And what that means is that it measures students' ability to apply the skills and knowledge learned from a unit or units of study. And assessments, they challenge students to use their higher order thinking skills to create a product or complete a process. So that's what it means when we talk about performance-based assessments. All right, so these performance-based instruction includes all 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. It focuses on COAAP task type, so oral, written, role play, etc. It includes the language and literacy objectives listed in the COAAP. So you can see the pre-approved civic objectives list for those objectives. And the last point here is that the instruction lasts at least 30 hours, utilizing content specific to the selected COAAP. All right, and agencies are required to develop COAAP assessments which directly relate to the civic objective and additional assessment plans selected. And you can use other agencies' excellent assessments as a model and change it to match the needs of your agency students. The assessment assess how well a learner can interact with or access the community and are evaluated on an individual basis. So these assessments are administered after 30 hours of specific COAAP related instruction. And they include tasks learners must perform in real life, such as talking with a doctor or completing an insurance claim. They relate to instruction in topic and instruction type. So whether it's oral, written, listening, or reading. And if a student does not pass a COAAP assessment, it can be administered again after additional appropriate instruction. All right, so for borrowing COAAP assessments, you can find other agencies who have selected the same COAAP as your agency and ask to review or borrow their instructional materials and assessments. So you can see this list, COAAPs selected by California agencies, to see which other agencies have chosen the COAAP that you are needing the instructional materials or assessments for. So you can look at that list. So for example, if your agency selected 47.2, but you need materials and assessments for that COAAP, you can see that Torrance Adult School has developed materials for 47.2, and you can access that by going to this link here, the EL Civics TAS curriculum webpage. And they upload all of their instructional materials to that website. So you can request assessment, and then also don't forget to keep it secure because it is an assessment. And please be selective and revise the materials as necessary to meet your learners' needs. Step 4, plan and offer instruction. So agencies are required to plan and offer civic participation in IELCE instruction based on the COAAP content and the instruction which prepares beginning low to advanced level ESL learners to access the community, participate in real or simulated communication and or interactions, complete the COAAP assessment tasks, and learn additional information related to the civic objective. So a little about literacy level students. Literacy level students can participate in the COAAP instruction and assessments, but the agency will not receive payment points until the student scores 181 or above on the CASAS listening steps test or 183 or above on the CASAS reading steps test. So which means that they score out of the literacy level. All right, so you should write or collect robust instructional materials for 30 hours of instruction that teach learners the content of the objective, which is a WIOA 2 requirement. And these instructional materials must include all vocabulary that will appear in assessment tasks, include plentiful and varied practice activities that prepare students for assessment, and include more language and literacy objectives than those listed in the COAAP. Right, so a little bit about the EL Civics Exchange. The EL Civics Exchange is a repository for original EL Civics instructional materials created by California WIOA Title II AEFLA EL Civics agencies. So it serves as a model of excellent materials and assists agencies in offering varied EL Civics instruction. So this is a joint project between CASAS and OTAN funded by the California Department of Education, and you can access the materials at this website, elcivics.otan.us. And you can just click this link. California WIOA 2 agencies can also submit instructional materials. So if you are developing new materials, please consider submitting it to the California EL Civics Exchange so that it can be shared with the entire EL Civics community. All right, so this is what the EL Civics Exchange looks like. And as you can see, there are 20 sets of materials. So you can click on it and look at the materials to use as is or to tailor to the needs of your specific student population. Okay, step 5 is to administer the additional assessments. So the assessments can be administered after 30 hours of specific COAAP related instruction. It can be administered by an outside assessor, like a instructional assistant, or the classroom instructor, that's fine. And it can be administered again after appropriate instruction if a learner does not pass the assessment the first time. All right, so assessment security is very important. So COAAP assessments must be kept secure because students earn payment points by passing COAAP assessments. They're considered high stakes, so they must be kept secure. So how to ensure security is by proctoring. So making sure that students, they're not copying off of each other's papers. Storage, that it's being kept in a secure place. So a little about online access. You need to ensure students cannot take pictures of the assessment during their assessment online. And the agencies need to ensure that only students who are taking the test can see the test. And so we'll talk a little bit more about remote testing. Because many schools have kept their online classes after COVID. And so you can do COAAP assessments online through remote testing. There are some requirements, though, for remote testing. For example, students need to have their camera on. So the teacher or the instructional assistant, whoever's proctoring the test, can see the student. Other things are like making sure that the student is alone and there's not someone off to the side feeding them answers, so the same type of security. We need to ensure the same kind of security for remote testing. All right, so test security policy. So the policy ensures that all COAAP examiners read and sign the test security agreement, which is on page 27. And you also need a local assessment policy, which describes actions to keep COAAP assessments procedures and how the assessments are kept secure. All right, so we have an FAQ that talks more about assessment security. So whether you're using paper testing materials or technology or online tools for IELTS Civics assessments, the agency is responsible for ensuring that only proctored students can access and submit the assessment. All right, so students completing the assessments must be evaluated on an individual basis. So oral interviews and or role play assessments must take place in participation with an assessor asking or answering the questions or playing a role. So this means that no student-to-student interaction is acceptable as part of the assessment process. So they need to be evaluated on an individual basis. However, written, listening, and oral report assessments can be administered in a group setting. But each student must complete the whole task on their own, and the assessments must be evaluated individually. Step 6, CASAS pre and post testing. So civic participation, IELCE learners must take a pretest to measure their skills upon entry, and then take a post-test to measure improvement. And the staff at the agency must complete an entry record or equivalent for the learner and complete an update record or equivalent for the learner. So as a little side note here at the bottom, one person from each WIOA Title II agency is required by the CDE to take CASAS test implementation training. Requirements to earn payment points for WIOA 2 agencies only. So the first requirement is that students must take a CASAS pre and post test. And if they do that, they can earn 1 payment point for completing a level on a CASAS pre or post test. Second requirement, learners must take additional assessments based on COAAPs and will earn 1 payment point for each additional assessment passed as described below. So students can earn a maximum of 6 payment points per year for passing a COAAP. From passing 3 from COAAPs from 231 funds and 3 from 243 funds. So again, to see which ones are which, please see the list here, 231 and 243 funded civic objectives list. Please note that to earn payment points, students must have a completed student outcomes data set, which consists of an entry and update records and CASAS pre and post tests. Okay, so some remote testing resources. So on the CASAS website, we do have a remote testing information. So this is a screenshot from our website, all about remote testing. And more about remote testing. So a few more resources. We do have webinars and guidelines about remote testing. So if you are looking into doing remote testing, please look at these resources. Step 7, and this is for IELCE 243 funded agencies only. Step 7 is to complete an IELCE report and plan. So agencies that are IELCE 243 funded, they must complete the IELCE report and plan. And you can click on this link for a summary of the content for the report and plan. And this report is due on March 31st of each program year. So some accountability successes. So 67% of California ESL students participated in EL Civics classes, both 231 and 243 funded. Approximately 99% of EL Civics students took COAAPs assessments. More than 90% of students who took the test passed one or more COAAP assessments. And that includes, students who passed after multiple instruction and assessment cycles. So students who may not have passed the first time, they had more instructions and were able to pass on the second try. So that's what's included in the 90%. All right, so EL Civics CAEP agency use of COAAPs. So increasing CAEP I3 outcomes to demonstrate program effectiveness using COAAPs. So COAAPs can be used with ABE, ASE, and CTE students. COAAPs can be used to plan instruction and assessment to demonstrate efficacy in real-life tasks, such as completing a job application, consulting with a school counselor, or making a consumer complaint. So ABE, ASE, and CTE students can achieve CAEP Immigrant Integration Indicator outcomes, so I3 outcomes, by passing a COAAP assessment. So successful implementation of COAAPs for CAEP agencies. So ABE, ASE, and CTE students can be placed in the appropriate COAAP level using the following chart. So this is a crosswalk for ABE, ASE, CTE student placement into ESL COAAP instructional levels. So depending on how they do on the reading goals test, you can see which level of COAAP instructional level to use for those students. So some further information and support for CAEP agencies. We have the first one here, increasing CAEP I3 outcomes to demonstrate program effectiveness using COAAPs. We also have this successful implementation of COAAPs for CAEP agencies. And lastly here, the CASAS EL Civics webpage. So data collection. So just a quick overview of payment points for the different COAAP types. So the 243 COAAP with co-enrollment, which means this is an IELCE student who passes a 243 COAAP and is co-enrolled in workforce training within that career pathway. They receive the $3 sign value payment point. And just to give you a rough estimate, I believe this is from 2024, the IELCE $3 sign amount was 355, whereas compared to the single dollar sign amount, which is 104. Now, these amounts do vary year to year, but it's just to give you a ballpark figure of how much more the $3 sign is compared to a $1 sign. So to go back to the chart here, the 243 COAAP without co-enrollment. So this is an IELCE student who passes a 243 COAAP and has access to, but is not co-enrolled in workforce training within that career pathway. They would receive the $1 sign amount for payment point amount. And lastly here, 231 COAAP. This is an EL Civics student who passes a 231 COAAP. Access to workforce training within a career pathway is not required. So that also receives the single dollar sign payment point value. All right, so record keeping. Agencies need to keep one folder for each EL Civics class. So not individual students, it's the EL Civics class. So this folder needs to contain the assessment, the criteria that the teacher used to score the student, and the score sheet and samples of student work for at least one pass and one no pass. So these students need to be, records need to be kept for 3 years plus the current year for auditing purposes, unless your agency knows that you're going to be the subject of an ongoing audit, in which case the records must be kept for 5 years. So you can see the CDE management bulletin for additional information related to saving and archiving documents. All right, so some resources for California EL Civics. So we do have monthly meetings, EL Civics Network monthly meetings. You can get on the mailing list by sending an email to elcivics@casas.org, so we can put you on that list. And then you can register at this website, www.californiaadultedtraining.org. And some more resources. You can find all this information on the California Civic Participation and IELCE webpage on the CASAS website. If you have other questions, you can also always email elcivics@casas.org. And we have some webinars here from 24-25 with different information. And we also have documents, civic participation, and IELCE FAQs. And our very own Lori Howard, she wrote a paper that was published in the COAAP journal about the racial equity and immigrant integration. So if you're interested, please click that link so you can read that article. All right, so if you have questions for policy and fiscal issues, please contact the California Department of Education Regional Consultants. For instruction assessment and data collection questions, contact CASAS program specialists, or you can go to the California Civic Participation IELCE webpage on the CASAS website, or send an email to elcivics@casas.org. So let's review our goals and objectives. So we're hoping that by the end of this session, you're able to identify the requirements of California WIOA Title II, AEFLA EL Civics grant specific to civic participation and IELCE, and also identify best practices for CAEP agency use of the California COAAP system. So how would you characterize your understanding of the California Civic Participation in IELCE, and also best practices for CAEP agency use of the California COAAP system? So did your number go up? We did the self-assessment, or we tried to ask you to do the self-assessment at the beginning. So hopefully if you didn't know much and you said you were at number 1, hopefully you went up to at least a 2 or 3, or maybe even to a 5. And so let's do a little reflection. What will you do with the information from this meeting? Are you going to just share it with administrators, teachers, tops for enterprise staff, or others? Please visit the CASAS website at casas.org. We also have a CASAS YouTube channel that you can visit by clicking on this link. And so thank you very much for watching this recording. If you have any questions, for general questions, please email elcivics@casas.org, or you can, for more specific questions, you can email me, sfitzpatrick@casas.org. All righty, thank you very much. Bye-bye.